So what's missing out of this, in terms of one of those signals, is television. Again, television is incredibly powerful. People are spending more time in front of TV than they are in front of their computers. That being a signal for paid media, which is the logical thing. The logical step here is, yeah, why someone's watching an ad, they see a Tesla commercial, they're going to go and they're going to do their search, it throws me into a system here, and then it spits something out on my tablet. That's a natural progression. But what about earned media? Earned media being that signal in this ecosystem. The consumer sees that placement on CNBC. How does that affect what the end result is here? This is what the net effect is. This is what we're working on and doing today to progress PR to get attribution, to get the things that they want. And this time when I say we, it's more than just IQ. There's other companies out there because, again, earned media and paid media, distinct on their own, and they both influence each other greatly, is how do we get what you're doing and earning on TV from your earned placements, how do I get the consumer to activate on it and give you credit back for it? So Bloomberg runs a story on TV. We know that now, and they're running it on the Tesla Model X. This is very simple, right? A lot of machinery going on behind the scenes, but there's a signal that's sent to what they call DSPs, and those are the ones that are actually serving up the ads here. So I do a search on Google for Tesla Model X, and because it knows that I'm here in Atlanta, again, we all do this anyways today, it then serves up a map of Tesla dealerships and charging facilities. It gives me where the closest Tesla Model X dealership is. This is very targeted. But again, what happens here is in the platform, in these ecosystems, by giving this as a data signal into that, you now get credit back for it. Because this knows that you were watching Bloomberg and that you did a search on Tesla Model X. Even so as to the point that the signal can be given that there's a story on driverless cars in Atlanta or in Georgia, and that when I do a search again on Google, it's going to bring up a very specific location because it knows that you just saw that in there, because nowhere else in the country in all 210 markets were they talking about self-driving cars, and they know that you're in Atlanta. That becomes a signal. Where it gets really interesting in this aspect is now it goes back to the online ad buying. This is where it works against you. This becomes a concept of what's called conquest. Elon Musk, you got him on CBS doing an interview about the Tesla cars. And the thing is because those signals are being sent to the DSPs, because the DSP knows that that's going on right now, Nissan can say anytime a earned placement is happening, because remember, earned has a higher trust than TV ads. There's higher trust in that. If I'm Nissan, I'm willing to pay more. I'm willing to take my CPM from $2 per thousand to $7 per thousand. At that specific moment that whenever Elon Musk has earned placement talking about Tesla, I'm willing to pay a lot more because, again, the user is going to look down and do a search on electric car. They're going to do a search on Tesla. And they want to make sure that the first thing that consumer sees is something on Nissan or anything related to them. Then the final point of attribution, going back to more SEO side, this is the real power. The end result of this is the consumer watching CNBC, and at that moment, the website serving platforms, it knows that I'm watching CNBC, the P85D is being profiled on that show at that time, that rather than using Google or using Google as the directory method to get me to Tesla.com, when I go to Tesla.com, because it knows, again, that window's very small, instead of it serving a generic Tesla.com website with models to choose from, because it knows where I'm sitting, where that is playing out, it serves the exact content that's now on your TV, earned or paid. And if it's earned and it drove this person to the website, The attribution doesn't go to organic search. It goes back to this earned placement that you had on television. It's incredibly powerful. So here's my goal. My goals for like the Redskins at the beginning and others, and by the way, many of these terms were defined by, we made these terms up 15, 20 years ago when we started out in doing it. It's wrong today. It needs to evolve. We need to get rid of this vocabulary because it doesn't sync with marketing and advertising. The way we need to think about PR and what we're doing today needs to be around attribution. Is what I'm doing with this journalist creating direct attribution or overall attribution? And overall meaning fuzziness. That's the thing that we typically like to think of. Yes?
But this is all presuming television.
Well, as I said, the television's the very first, so the very first step, choosing to tackle the hardest thing and proving it out then allows us to go right back to things that happen on Washington Post. And those are models that we can then easily do through Bayesian type models, but the TV side is what's the really hard side. So that's what we're solving specifically around attribution today, because one, it's one of the most valuable formats, but two, it's least understood and nobody's getting credit around it. So we wanted to start there.
So you're saying, regardless of what medium, you want to get rid of all those vocabulary words?
Absolutely.
I haven't seen, I'm not convinced.
Oh, great. That's fine. The impressions of WashingtonPost.com is misused today. It's a monthly number. You know, people are using, yes, there are 26 million people that go to WashingtonPost.com. Unfortunately, that's the number that's being used when you have a story that runs in WashingtonPost.com. 26 million people didn't see that story. 26 million people, true, visited WashingtonPost.com. But the number that PR is using when we use impression is 26 million. Incredibly inaccurate. And it's unfortunate. But that's been something that's been there in place for almost 20 years. It's a vernacular that we use. It's a metric that we become accustomed to. But again, going back to the smell test, it's not in alignment with what marketing and others are using to help define ad value. So key, really with the key takeaways and what I hope, other than changing our vernacular, you know, in terms of what we're looking at here. We're early in this, and the mindset again is this is where we need to evolve. Is this one of the only areas? There are a lot of areas that need to evolve. But TV is the area that's least understood, as I was just saying, in terms of moving forward. But attribution overall works. You can look at it. You can actually dig into your Google Analytics and see one step earlier. The concept of last click in terms of Facebook or others getting credit for things that are happening earlier. If you know how to dig deep into Google Analytics, you can actually get to more of that data in terms of how people were finding you. So whether it's through a story or not. But attribution is really, you know, despite TV, it's only as good as the underlying data and model. That's both not only on TV, but that's also online, as we talked about with the Washington Post numbers, or even Yahoo. You know, it goes back to that, you know, the opportunity to see is the number on the Washington Post, 26 million. I'm talking to some marketers and advertisers, especially after this, like they joked about, my opportunity for someone to see my website is 3.2 billion. That's my opportunity. That's not a realistic alignment. So we need to understand the data which is being used for the attribution models that we're using. In interpreting those results, again, you can go and use your existing tools of Google and Analytics and Adobe, but we'll be moving forward and we're looking at dedicated attribution tools to help. That's whether it's us or others in the space that are doing it. And here's the point that we're really trying to do is it's more about attribution, is the ability to be agile. Agile in what you're doing to be able to move your focus or emphasis on particular campaigns, whether one's working or not, and shift to another quickly. That's what the end goal is here. Again, understanding the direct attribution versus overall attribution. Direct today is much easier to quantify because we can look at all of these things. And I know there's a lot of people in PR that look at direct attribution, or what they're doing is more overall attribution, because we believe really in PR there's a longer tail effect. But I'm telling you, earned media has a response rate higher than TV ads, and people are doing search, TV, as well as what they see online and elsewhere. But overall, in terms of what PR is doing, we know that long-term, you're building trust in your brand, and that people are going to choose your product or service directly and tell their friends about it. There is a long-term value of what we do as well from that overall. It's harder to measure. We'll get there very soon. There's a lot of great models. You need a lot of data around that to help us do that. But really, what we're looking to do is fix short-term issues to really help people get credit around what they deserve, specifically in earned placements. Yep.